Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and we've got some more recent sales on eBay to go through, mainly mint on cards. I did pick out some other kind of wonky, off-the-wall items to include in this video, but lots of good deals out there for any auction not by AFA/CIB. I feel like a lot of those auctions tend to go for above market value, as we've talked about in past videos, but there's other good sellers out there, including Gold Star Tech, who I don't know, I've never been, they're not asking me to cover their auctions or anything like that. I'm just a happy customer. That's what it boils down to. They've got lots of good items that seem to come up almost every day. And so if you have not checked them out and you're in the US, or maybe they ship international, I don't know, make sure to go check them out, because they start all their auctions at 99 cents. And they have like what seems to be an endless supply of awesome items. So we'll get to their items in a second, but we want to start off with some really nice looking 12 backs that sold. And while they weren't perfect, they were pretty darn nice. So this was a 12 back Princess Leia with the price sticker punched example. It looks like the figure is starting to, discolor, which is common for Princess Leia. And a number of this seller's auctions did have frosting on the actual figure there. You can kind of see that on the hair for Leia. So that does tend to help keep the prices down. The cards and the blisters were in very good shape. It's just, unfortunately, some of them did have some frosting. $11.28 on this Leia. And there was also this Vader that suffered from the same issue. And it was worse than the Leia. It had frosting very clearly on Darth Vader there. So another 12 back. This one sold for $10.75. Again, the cards and the blisters were pretty good. It's just some of these figures had probably not been stored properly, probably had moisture. That moisture and darkness tends to cause mold. It doesn't matter what it is. And so if you don't have it in a dry environment, you are going to get this frosting issue on your card backs if you're not careful. So just really important to keep the moisture down. I would say, honestly, if you are not displaying them, like I display everything, right? So moisture is really subject to what the collection room is subject to, right? But if you got them stored like in a bin or something like that, and they're not AFA encased or, acrylic cases, you might want to consider putting a dehumidifier in there. That just keeps everything nice and dry. It's just a suggestion for those that maybe don't have a big display space. Here's a C-3PO. This one was probably one of the best in terms of condition. It looked really nice. I didn't see any issues with the actual figure or the blister or the card. I think it would probably pretty easily get an 80 grade. Another punched example with a price sticker, $7.98 on that one. R2-D2 maybe has a little bit of discoloration going on the figure. You can see it's just very slightly starting to turn pink, which again is another common problem for C-3PO, or excuse me, for R2-D2, whether it's in the blister or not. And it's not as, I feel like R2-D2 doesn't discolor inside the blister nearly as commonly as a Stormtrooper or Princess Leia, but you do see it sometimes. This one had a toy chest price sticker, punched example, probably an 80 would be my guess on that one as well. $810 was the final winning bid on that. So there's some good deals on those. I sent those out to my Patreon supporters in an auction alert. I'm not sure if any of you got them or not, but they were very nice examples. And one of my Patreons did say that this seller had some in a buy it now, like Luke's Farm Boy, things like that. So these were the ones that did not sell when he had them listed in a make an offer situation. Another 12 back. This was a 12 back A Sand People, unpunched with a price sticker, Kittyland price sticker. I had Kittyland growing up. And this one was an AFA 75 with the archival case. And that one was really brought down by both the blister and the figure score. So again, discoloration inside the blister. That's the risk you take on these early card backs, especially. I mean, it can happen on any card back, but I feel like with 12 backs, it's just getting to the point now where they've been around for a long time, and we're approaching, I mean, quite honestly, we're approaching 40 years for some of these. And 88, 98, 08, 18, it's more than that. It's almost 50 years now. God, I feel old saying that out loud. I was like, no, 40 years isn't right. It's 50 years. So in 2028, we're going to be at 50 years old for some of these figures, these early card backs. And, you can see that the Tusken Raider has discolored on the cape there. I'm sure it's going to happen to all of them. Maybe not. You know, maybe the early factory molds, the early plastics that they used were different as they went through the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and maybe it becomes less common, and the half-life for that plastic changes. But for some of those 12 backs, that's a risk you take, and this one was certainly no exception. $8.98 though on that one. Here was another Tusken Raider. This was on the Harbert Italian card back, and we're getting into Gold Star Tex items before we get into some other kind of off-the-wall items. But this was an AFA 80. Now, it was yellowed, so that kept the price way down. I think the same seller had an AFA 80 plus for this Sabipod. I don't know how you pronounce that in Italian there, but that's a pretty cool name pill there on that one. Yellowed blister, AFA 80 with an archival case, again $7.99. I think the 80 plus with the clear blister sold for like $1,700 question mark somewhere in there, $1,800. So that just shows you the price discount for one that was yellowed, and I think the other one was unpunched as well. They also had, this is not a mint on card, but I wanted to include this in this batch. This was an AFA 85 Alien 2-pack, the Cantina Aliens with Walrus Man and Hammerhead. This one might have been relisted, and this might have been the price after being relisted. It sold for about the same price. I think it sold for around $900 before, and this one sold for $850 in a relist. So trusted seller though. I mean, I have no problem with this seller. You know, one of my Patreons, Star Wars Daddy, he said he did get a baggie that was ungraded that had been obviously retaped, but I told him that personally, I don't think this seller's trying to pull one over on anybody. This seller is an electronics reseller that just happens to have a big Star Wars collection in, whether it's his own or not. I don't think they're trying to hide anything. They just don't particularly care when they're doing 279,000 transactions on eBay, as you can see right here. So it's just a function of an uneducated seller. But you got to do your homework when you're buying some of these. The good thing is they do have a return policy. So you can return anything that you buy that clearly has either been manipulated or something was not disclosed by the seller. But anyway, that one did sell at $850. Here was an AFA 75 qualified grade Return of the Jedi, battle damaged X-Wing. So very cool item there. That one sold for $660, another very good price. I think if it had been factory sealed and this was a red label AFA 75, probably closer to $1,000, if not above that. But, the 75 grade would have probably kept it down. And that's probably what it did here, given that it was qualified plus the 75 grade. Here was a made in Spain Greedo. So this is made for the U.S. market, but is made in Spain, as you can see right there. This is one I've got in my own collection, AFA 85. Bottom left corner on the back, it does show made in Spain. It's a little bit more of a matte finish to the card back. They made these made in Spain Spanish PvP figures for the U.S. market. They made these for all the Cantina aliens, the Red Snags, Hammerhead, Walrus Man, and then obviously Greedo. So there's 4 different Cantina aliens that you can get on these Return of the Jedi 77 backs for the U.S. market. This was an AFA 75 yellowed blister. Most of them are yellowed blister, unfortunately. $237.50 on that was a really good deal. An AFA 85. I mean, I paid, I think, $550 somewhere in there for mine. So I thought that was a really good deal for a 75. They also did have some tri-logos that I wanted to point out. This was an AFA 70 Emperor's Royal Guard. Now, there's one still going right now in CIB's auctions. That's an AFA 85, and it's already over $2,000. So this was a 70 grade and sold for $811. Very tough character to find on the tri-logo card back, as we've talked about in the past. They also had this one that closed last night. This was a CAS 80 A-Wing pilot, unpunched, no price sticker, with no £1.59 sticker on there. Now, it's a CAS 80, which does tend to command a little bit of a discount relative to what AFA examples get for. This one was also a Clipper catalog on the back, so very nice item overall. 85, 75, 85 were the scores, and I think it was appropriately graded. I mean, this is a really well-graded figure. It's every bit of a 75 for the blister card, and the figure obviously looked great. 360 is, to me, a steal. And I know there are some owners out there or collectors out there that don't collect CAS graded items. I think you're missing out. I mean, this is a good, affordable way to add a really nice tri-logo to your collection without paying AFA prices. I have an AFA 85 with the £1.59 price sticker. I paid about double what this one sold for. So this is a really good, affordable, budget-friendly option. It's not perfect, I know that, but it's a really affordable option relative to what AFA examples can go for. Next up, let's see, we've got another tri-logo. This is a yellowed blister, Princess Leia in her indoor combat poncho. And this was not a gradable item, in my opinion. I wouldn't bother grading it. I would just put it in a sliding acrylic case. Obvious wear around the hang tab, yellowed blister, probably about a 75 grade. That one sold for $257, another really good budget-friendly item. They also had an AFA 80 Ewok Combat Glider. So this one is factory sealed, red label there. And this one sold in an auction for $330, which is about right. You know, usually ungraded 250-ish. In an 80 grade, $330 is well within fair market value. AFA 85s, probably $400 to $450 would be my guess on those. They had an AFA 85 yellow blister King Gorniche unpunched. This one was on the Kenner Canada card back. Very nice example there. $205.50. You can't beat that price. It did have a Toy Liquidators price tag, which, you know, is okay, I guess. But, you know, for an unpunched Canadian, you know, foreign card back in a very high grade, 80, 85, 85, very nice deal at $205. And then they had an ungraded, I wanted to show you an ungraded Power of the Force Jawa as well as a high grade AFA example to show you the price disparity. This one did have some litho issues in the upper right-hand corner. Still sold for $344. The Jawa really is a pretty expensive character on the Power of the Force card. It's not as expensive as some of them, but it's certainly like, you know, above the more common Power of the Force figures. $344 on that one. And then here was an AFA 80 archival case, no price sticker, unpunched, that sold in a buy it now situation for $599, which is about right. I think that's fair market value in an AFA 80. AFA 85s, they can easily approach $800 to $900, believe it or not. This one just had light yellowing to the blister relative to what this one had, and I thought that was worth every penny at $599. Next up, here was that beautiful Kenner Canada debut card for Luke Skywalker Hoth. It was a yellowed blister, unfortunately, but it was AFA 85, unpunched, no price sticker, and that one sold in an auction for $635, which was about right, if not a little bit low, quite honestly. I would think a clear blister for this in an AFA 85, double that price pretty easily. It's a number I'd pay anyway, $1,200 or so. So I thought that was a pretty good deal for a very tough to find Kenner Canada debut card for Luke Skywalker and his Hoth battle gear. This seller had two different 12-inch figures that were AFA graded that sold. Here was an AFA 80 Jawa. That one sold for $1055. And then here was the Han Solo. That was an AFA 85, straight 85s for this one. And so you knew it was going to go for a lot of money. I didn't know how much, but it sold for $3,080. And it's probably about what it would go for on no matter what auction platform. I don't know. But I tend to think that it would probably do better on one of the alternate platforms, as I've talked about in the past. But it was an AFA 85, straight 85s for $3,080, and probably about right for what it is. Here was a very tough to find yak face on the Kenner Canada Power of the Force card back, unpunched, no price sticker. Wow, what a gem. And, you know, I looked really closely at it. I could not see any cracks to the blister whatsoever. It looked very, very clean. And, you know, this is one that I don't think makes any sense to list on eBay. I mean, you can't trust eBay buyers. They could, you know, do a fake return and keep it. I wouldn't do it personally. There's no way. This is an item that I would sell on Hakes all day long. $6,300 is what it sold for. AFA 85 examples can sell for $10,000. That's way too much money to risk on scumbag fake buyers who are going to send you like a Black Series, you know, Admiral Krennic, and Director Krennic. Instead, you know, I've heard that case. It's a scam that's very common on eBay with a lot of these dirtbags that will be the winning bidder, pay for it, say that it's damaged in shipping, open a return, and then send back nothing related to the item. I've just heard it from channel subscribers before. So there's no way that I would sell this on eBay. But that's what they decided to do, and $6,300 was the final winning bid on it. And that's a good deal for whoever bought that, in my opinion. Next up was a CAS 85 Luke Jedi. This was the 65 back A with just light yellowing to it, hardly any yellowing to the blister. Unpunched, no price sticker for $355. That is a great deal. Bargain of a deal, in my opinion. Here was an interesting off-the-wall item. This was the Jedi Master board game, and this was still factory sealed and graded AFA 75 plus. That one sold for $222.50. That's not an item you see pop up regularly. That's factory sealed and AFA graded. I wanted to show this lot of items because, you know, to me, it's more money than I'd spend. Okay, but these are all cut cards. These are not mint on card, but it was a lot of 15 items, and you can see there very clearly that they're all cut cards. And you know, to me, $12.47 for the final winning bid is a lot of money for 15 figure. You're basically paying, after taxes, you're paying about $100 a figure, but they're not factory sealed. These are all cut cards, all from the Return of the Jedi. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. But you know, if you're just trying to add some display pieces, then go for it, or sell them separately. Maybe you do better. But to me, for cut cards, that's too much money. Maybe some of them don't have cut cards, but the Luke was a blue saber, so that is, you know, certainly a bonus there. But you know, some of these look like they maybe are factory sealed. I don't know, but it just wasn't very well described, and you're taking a little bit of a risk on some of those there. Finally, here was another one of those Palatoy flyers for the Boba Fett mail-away, graded UKG 90%. This seller apparently had 2 of them available, but that's a beautiful display. Really like how that displays. And again, another item that you don't see graded very often. And that one did sell for 300 pounds, which is 390 US dollars. So very, very cool. Very cool item that you don't see very often. So I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales for items on eBay. Thank you as always for watching. Please leave me a like, and I'll be back soon.